Welcome to Southwest Florida Frontline, the platform where America's first responders, last responders, and military personnel share their stories. This is your platform to share your story, inspire others, and be heard. The views, experiences, and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the individual speakers and do not represent the official stance of any affiliated organizations or entities. The information is for general informational purposes only and should not be taken as professional advice. We are committed to maintaining the privacy and confidentiality of all guest speakers and participants and adhere to the highest standards of ethical conduct.
Good morning, Carlos. Thank you very much for being here. Do you want to perhaps start introducing yourself, telling us a little bit about yourself, and especially what led you to become a first responder?
Absolutely. Well, good morning. Thank you for having me on, first of all. My story is, I'll try to shorten it a bit. I've been doing this for the past 22 and a half years, going on 23 years as a firefighter. To be honest with you, high school, I didn't, I was a good student. I was an average student. I had good grades and stuff like that, but I had no plans at all to go to college, no applications, nothing like that. And one day during my first period class, an Air Force recruiter walked into our class to do a presentation. She was a young lady. So, I'm paying attention to the presentation. At that moment, it was close to the end of the senior year. I had no plans of, like I said, college. And she gave us a speech about the Air Force. She basically said you could be a police officer, electrician, a cook, a firefighter. Bling, little light bulb clicked in. I'm like, firefighter? Sounded interesting. She left her presentation. I did a little bit of research. I'm like, man, firefighting, what's that about? I spoke to some people that were firefighters, and they told me about it. I spoke to a friend of mine that had had a brother in the Air Force, and he said, "Yeah, it's a great career. Just make sure that when you sign up to the Air Force, you get a guaranteed contract." So, okay, I did my research as I always do. I love reading. My dad's always taught me how, to do my due diligence.
You were how old at that time?
I was 18, 19 years old, and. At that time, I did my research. I went back to the young lady. I found her and I go, "Ma'am, I want to join the Air Force. I want to be a firefighter. If you get me a guaranteed contract as a firefighter, I'll sign your contract today because I have no plans of going to college. I really don't know what I'm doing with my life." She goes, "Okay." Came back a week later.
Southwest Florida Frontline, live from the Sunshine State.
Came back with a contract, 3E731 firefighter apprentice, leave October 1st, 2001. So think about it. That was probably July, August, July, August. And I signed the contract. I didn't even tell my parents, It came down to a dinner table one day. My dad's like, "Hey, we're going on a cruise in November." I'm like, Dad, I can't go to that cruise. I forgot to tell you. I joined the United States Air Force and I leave October 1st. He was livid, and then I tell him I'm going to be a firefighter.
But was he proud though? Are you coming from a family?
Firefighters in third world countries in South America are not the firefighters that they, at least not back then. They're more, it's not a lucrative job to be a firefighter. So he almost had a heart attack. My dad's an engineer, my mom's a chemist.
He was scared.
They're, highly educated. So he was like, "What?" So, he had no choice. I already signed. If I didn't go, it's basically, deserting. So he goes, "Okay." After basic training, and doing all my training, he eventually learned what the firefighting career was here in the United States. It's a lot different. It takes education. But the United States Air Force really shaped me. I did a complete 180. They instilled core values in me that I live with to this day: integrity first, service before self, and excellence in all I do. Those three core values were really truly ingrained in my psyche because I look at everything in that aspect.
And we just talked about this on a personal level, that we feel like integrity is the number one thing that, society is lacking these days.
Absolutely.
And I now I'm like already going a little further than, what you introduced yourself about. But I know you're also a businessman. You have your own business. You are teaching young students in the Miami area. How do you implement this specific core value in your teaching, or also in your business plans?
Well, I mean, as I told you, my introduction to anybody that I'm meeting for the first time, I give them my speech, and I give them the introduction of who I am, my background, where I started, how I started, and those core values. To me, I do the right thing. I have this thing called the conscience, and I've always been that way. Do the right thing, even if it's not the popular thing to do. That's sometimes, the hardest thing to tell young kids and students, saying, hey man, just if you do the right thing, you have nothing to worry about. I had a chief tell me, overreact and you'll never go wrong. If you always do the right thing, you'll never be in trouble. You're never going to get called into the chief's office to get a slap on the wrist because you did the right thing and you overtreated, or you did extra and you went above and beyond. So if you keep it that way, that's kind of my introduction and my statement to anybody that I teach. I'm here to gonna do the right thing. If you don't like it, well, that's gonna be your problem. I'm never gonna cut corners. I always lead with integrity, and I lead from the front. I'm not gonna ask you to do something I wouldn't do, and I go that way, And then
and over the last decades that you have been doing this, do you see that this is changing in young students? Like the understanding or the perception of integrity?
I think the students that I teach that are going into the first responder world, that are going into public service, kind of have that in them, because this field is not for anybody. It's not, I tell people also, if you're becoming a first responder, you're not going to be rich off of first responder salary. This is a benevolent cause for you. You're going to be giving up your time to serve the public. In reality, that's who we are. We are servants. And I tell all my students, especially the ones coming into the fire service, joining our department, is remember that when you get dressed this morning and you put your pants on and your uniform on and you come to work, you're not coming to work for you. Yes, you're coming to work to gain a salary, but the intent of your job and your goal, you're here for the residents of the community that you serve. Yes, you're going to get paid and you have benefits and all that's great and dandy, but you get up and go to work to help others. That is the main, message that I tell all my guys here. At the end of the day, you're not here for you. You're not at this fire station for you. You're not. And I tell them to the students that before they even get hired, guys, you're learning to be a paramedic because you're going to serve people. You're coming to fire academy because you're going to serve people. You need to understand that. It's, I want them to get away from I got the t-shirt with the badge and it's all cool. Yeah, it is. It is. We have that in the limelight of the general public. Firefighters are loved by everybody. But that's not the intent. It's not to be cool. It's to learn. It's to know your job in and out. You have to know your job in and out. Every day,
it's a safety concern, right?
Yeah, every day is a learning day. You learn every day, you refresh every day, and you're here to serve the public, and you're not here for you. Nobody dropped you off here. I also tell them, mommy didn't drop you off and made you come to work. No, you have to always keep in mind that feeling that you applied to this job because it's a job that has a cause, and it's extremely rewarding. It is extremely hazardous, one in the physical aspect and two in the mental aspect. I know we'll talk a little bit about PTSD and calls and things like that. It does break you down. And over the last 23, almost 23 years, The job has kicked my butt a little bit. It does take a toll on you. I mean, I'm also aging. I just turned 43. I've been doing this for 23 years. You got to take care of yourself. As you are taking care of others and helping others, you got to maintain. But it's a beautiful career, in my opinion, and I love it. I wouldn't change it for the world. I got 20 more years to go if, stay healthy, right? And we'll see.
And like you said, it takes a specific personality to, enter this field and then to stay within this field. Were you raised with those core values? And is this why you decided you want to have a career, or why you had this bling moment when she talked about firefighting, that you were like, hey, wait, I feel like this is how my parents raised me, that would be a good match?
I think so. I was raised in a single family home with my mom and dad. Were married 35 years. My mom passed away about 10 years ago, but overall, I came from a family that I was always taught to kind of the same core values. Do the right
Do
thing,
the right thing.
work hard. And my dad used to tell me, listen, I don't care what you do in life. Just that when you do it, be the best at it. Don't. I was never taught to be average. I've never been average. I've never felt average. I'm no better than anybody, but everything I do, I put my best into it. If I don't know something, like I truly have always enjoyed learning. My grandfather, when I was little, had a shop, and I was always in the shop learning about tools and building things, and I have extreme energy. That's something that anybody that knows me knows that I run on jet fuel. I've cut down my coffee. No more coffee in the afternoon because getting older, I have trouble sleeping now. But
And no energy drinks.
no energy drinks. I quit those completely. But people that know me know that I have an energy that I've always. I guess it's the dopamine receptors that when you help somebody or when you do something good, you get that good feeling, and it's like a drug, going to a good call where you save somebody, or not even the smallest minor little minute call where you go to an elderly home and they need a light bulb change, or they, just being a good person. I think that's what I'm fueled by, and it's a blessing and a curse because I I always help everybody out, and I'm learning how to say no. Not that I don't want to help, but I'm learning to set my boundaries because sometimes I go above and beyond, and ends up hurting me in the back end where I'm taking time away from family or things that I should be doing. Um, but I've always had that nature in me. I've always been somebody to help when I was a young kid. And that's how I was raised. That's how my parents raised me to be. Treat people. My grandfather used to tell me, treat people how you want to be treated.
The
With
golden
respect,
rule.
with
Yep.
dignity, have compassion, be nice, man. That's the simplicity of it. It's so simple. It's so simple.
Southwest Florida Frontline, live from the Sunshine State.
And you just said that in general, it is so rewarding. Most cases are so rewarding, but you also mentioned earlier PTSD, and that some cases, especially over the year when it builds up, get to you. Do you mind sharing what cases especially? Because, I'm from the death investigation field, and I know that a lot of co-workers struggled with kids' cases.
Yes.
Is this something similar?
Something to tell the public or whoever talks to firefighters or people in this field. The traumatic cases are the ones that affect us, that come back. Mostly are children. Any case dealing with children. Now that I have children, hits me even harder. Something I give advice to everybody is that when you meet a first responder, never ask them what's the worst call you've ever had. Because that brings us back, and those are the lingering thoughts, and those are the things that trigger our mental state. I've had bad cases from neglect, drownings, shootings, stabbings, you name it, car accidents, uh, jumpers, suicides, you name it. Those things stay in your mind, and things will trigger to they bring you back in learning how over time, I've also was in Iraq and saw a lot of bad things during my time in the military. Um, Learning to cope with them has been difficult at times, because some stuff just doesn't go away. Um, Talking about it is something that helps. Going to therapy helps. Our culture has been slowly changing. Our culture in the fire service has always been toughen up, kid, deal with it, get over it. You'll be fine. And in reality, is not. The suicide rate in first responders has drastically gone up. For many different reasons, but a lot of the things is because we see a lot of bad things and we don't know how to cope. We don't know
Same
how
with the
to,
military, right? And since you're both, I mean, you've seen
yeah.
both
We have these things called
traumatic.
feelings
Hmm.
that we're taught to before. We were taught to bottle them up. Hey, put those things away, guy. We we would get back to the kitchen table and joke around morbidly, and we have that dark humor, but you need to talk about the calls that you go on. If something bothers you, you need to reach out. These things called feelings are normal. We have tear ducts for a reason. Tear ducts are meant for you to be able to cry, and there's nothing wrong with crying. We see death constantly. If you don't let those feelings out, if you don't reach out for help, which I have reached out for help, I suffer from PTSD, anxiety, depression, and all these things because I've dealt with this career. And like I told you, this career will put you through the ringer if you don't take care of yourself. You have to have an out. You have to have community. You have to have anybody, just but you definitely cannot bottle these things up. Talking about it is, I think, something that helps me out, and I've been learning more recently than ever because I'm that type of guy. I just, I deal with my own issues. I bottle
Hmm.
it up and then I go about my way. But then, like I said, I didn't know about these feelings. I used to be an alcoholic a long time ago. I'm 3 years, 3.5 years sober now. I have not touched a drop of alcohol in over 3.5 years. And one more day, I told
Congratulations.
myself one more day. But back then, I used to drink myself away and numb it. Alcohol is not a way out. It's only a short-term fix, but eventually that lid pops off, and you're snappy. You're yelling at your kids. You're getting in arguments with your wife. Recognizing your feelings and talking about the things that bother you is something that I advocate for now more than ever. With recent friends committing suicide, I mean, Captain Bill Gustin was a mentor to all of us in the fire service, and he unfortunately committed suicide recently. We've had several others within the past year that, dealing with issues, man. There's no problem out there that can't be solved, guys. So if you are suffering from PTSD, anxiety, depression, any type of suicidal thoughts, reach out, call me, find me. I'll give you my email. I'm here to help out. It's sad to, suicide is bad. It's a permanent solution to a temporary problem, in my opinion. And we all have issues, but we can solve them. You know.
Carlos, that was a very wonderful and touching speech, and I thank you for honestly sharing what you have been through, especially as a very masculine man with a very masculine career role. And I wish that more people would talk about it and open up, because us making ourselves vulnerable is not a weakness. I actually consider this being a strength. And it's very important that, we open this for the public. And I appreciate that you offer that we can perhaps put your email down in the show notes. So if people, want to have an advice or anything, that they can. And I will also share hotlines or, help that I find with links. So if someone is in a very similar situation, so that they see they are not alone. This is, they do not need to feel ashamed about this. And that everyone who works in a field where they see trauma is going through this at some point in their lives. And, there are mechanisms that help, hopefully help. Everyone is different. But I think talking about it and being honest about it and showing, hey, I'm a human being like you are. I'm not perfect. I have those feelings about that, but I'm still trying to push through and find help. Hopefully is very inspiring for anyone who listens here and is in a similar situation. So thank you very much for, talking about it openly.
And I'll give you some resources also that
Okay.
I'm involved with a foundation called Never Walk Alone.
Oh, okay.
I'll give you the links to put in the notes, and it's a foundation that deals with PTSD awareness in the fire service, first responders, police, dispatch, all that. So something else that I'm involved with to give back to people that to our community.
It seems like, the common denominator here is that, it's not just that you need to be confident and strong enough to deal with those cases or do that specific line of work, but also I hear a lot of humbleness when you talk about, those jobs and the specific skill set that someone needs in order to, be a good firefighter or be a good first responder, giving big back to community. So yeah, thank you for doing what you're doing. And is there anything else that you don't mind sharing about, this organization that you just mentioned?
Well, Never Walk Alone started many years ago. It was started by Claudio Navas, he's a firefighter from Miami Beach, and some others. They lost a friend to suicide due to PTSD, and they would walk the Miami Marathon in full bunker gear in
Oh, wow.
in his honor. Danny Alvarez from Miami. That cause grew. It grew to over years. We had hundreds and hundreds of first responders walking the Miami Marathon in gear, police, dispatch, fire, EMTs, paramedics. And it's grown dramatically through the years. And now there's an event actually coming. We kind of separated from the Miami Marathon because we have so many people participating, and it kind of got cumbersome because it is a marathon in Miami, and think about having 400 or 500 first responders walking, not running the marathon. So we're doing our own event.
But in full gear with the Miami heat,
Yeah,
that is
13 and a half miles. Yes, and it's not mandatory doing it in gear. You could just walk without gear, but most of the firemen will walk in gear. We're doing the second event is coming up at the end of this year. I'll send you flyers and all that information once I have more of the date and location. We're doing our own independent 5K. The walk has dramatically reduced from 13 miles to 5K because now it's more of an awareness, and to be honest with you, that 13 miles is brutal, even in not in gear, so a lot of people can't participate. So we downsized the event to a 5K so more people can participate, and it's more of a family event. We have sponsors and food trucks, and it's a really, really good cause to bring awareness to PTSD.
And it sounds like as if there is a lot of support once someone opens up and honestly shares, how they are feeling. Or would you say that it's still kind of stigmatizing, or do people perhaps just fear being stigmatized and considered weak when they share?
Yeah, I think that's still in our service, that whole bottle it up. Although with the amount of suicides, at least here in the South Florida area, peer support teams have been developed. There's been a lot more training. There's been a lot more exposure and awareness to issues. So um, our fire departments are becoming younger and younger. That stigma of, hey, tough it up. It's more of a old firefighter. You don't want to show weakness. And like you mentioned earlier, being vulnerable and speaking about the way you feel is not a weakness, guys. It's human nature. We have feelings for a reason. If something's bothering you, you don't have to shout it out at the kitchen table. Everything that you can reach out to peer support members in your department. Every department has them now, and it's all confidential. They're there to listen to you. The departments have human resources departments that have resources for you to employee assistance resources for you to go and vent. It's not normal for any human being to see death and bad things. Because remember, our job is amazing. We do help out, but people call us when they're having a bad day. We go to and then the job is tiring. You know, you're running 15, 20 calls a day. Even if they're, you know, BS calls, you know, basic service calls, just it's tiring. And you see people that are truly hurting out there. Like I said, we're blessed. I'm blessed beyond belief because I have health. I have, you know, a career that's extremely rewarding. I have multiple jobs on the side that financially I'm fine. And you see a lot of people out there hurting. You see a lot of people out there hurting financially, you know, people that are in different situations, and that overall you might not think it takes a toll on you. It does. When you see elderly people that are, you know, living on welfare and living in bad conditions, and, you know, all that, if you have a conscience, if you're a good human being, it affects you. Over time it affects you. And if you're constantly dealing with trauma, if you're constantly dealing with really bad things, you know, deaths, suicides, drownings, shootings, and things like that, that's not normal. That's not normal. To, you know, you kind of become desensitized, and over time you just become numb. And that's where, you know, your mind is a powerful thing, and things can, you start thinking, and there's a way out. Talking, and it doesn't have to be, like I said, in public. Reach out. There are thousands of resources out there, and people in general. You'd be surprised. Your closest friend, they're there to help. They're there to listen to you. They're there to help guide you. You know, I've been one of them. I've reached out for help, man, because life will kick you in the ass sometimes, and you got to learn how to, you know, adapt, improvise, overcome. But let those feelings out, let those concerns out, and it's out there. Just don't hang on to it to yourself, and reach out for help if you feel like you need to, even if it's a simple conversation. You know, my phone, I tell my guys, my phone's always on. Luckily, I'm always tethered to my phone due to my job. So you got an issue, you got a question, shoot me a text, bro. Call me. I'm here. There's no problem that you can't solve other than death. Death is the only thing that's guaranteed in life, and that should come naturally and in peace through a long, fulfilling life. You know, not through you know, by your choice through suicide, because, you know, you're feeling pain, and you're feeling anguish, and you're feeling despair, and you feel like, you know, life is overwhelming. Don't, you know, reach out for help. You know.
Like I said, I think it is so wonderful that on top of all your all the things that you're already doing, knowing that your schedule, especially while also having a family and, you know, being a family man, I don't know when time allows you to do that. And I understand now what you also mean with, like, you might have to learn to set healthy boundaries. However, I think it is very wonderful that you offer peer support, because you've been there yourself, you know, so you know, or you can relate to what they are going through. And I remember when I did my job, it was so hard to grasp for my mind that for me it's just a work day. And for all those, you know, relatives that I had to deal with, it's probably the worst day in their life, because they just lost someone. And like you said, sometimes under very cruel and horrific circumstances. And it's hard to go home and brush this off and say, okay, but I'm still allowed to enjoy my life, because, you know, that didn't happen to me. And it's I feel like it's so contradict that this already can, you know, put your mind in, like, I don't know, in a mind game that's hard to escape from.
You know, having, like you said, healthy boundaries is one thing, but a lot of us in the fire service, at least, allow the job to become you, right? We are not the job. You have to, and speaking from experience, I'm learning how to do this. you need to have healthy outlets outside of the job. You're not, yeah, you're a firefighter, but when you get off duty, go to jujitsu, go to play golf, have a healthy outlet that allows you to decompress. The camaraderie is kind of what keeps us and makes us that way, because you tend to hang out with who? Firemen. And
Mm.
we kind of talk about work, and it's all so trying to separate from work um, is something that I recommend to other. Have something else that's not firefighting, that's completely neutral, that you hang out with normal, regular people, that don't know the aspects of what it is being a first responder. Because if you're constantly surrounded by first responders, what else do you talk about?
You
Nothing
never
wrong.
have a break.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nothing wrong with talking about it. Like I said, our job is great, but you need a break over time. And I've
Mm.
learned that as I got older. When you're a young fireman, that's all you want to do. It's I'm passionate about what I do, and I think most people that join the fire service and police are passionate about their jobs. But you do need a break. You need to separate that. Hang out with family and don't talk about work with family. Talk about other things. Have that healthy outlet and hobbies. And over time, those are things that have kind of that I need to implement more. I want to start training jujitsu more. I want to, I do a lot of things, as you said. I wear many hats, but I tend to, and over the past few years, I'm learning how to establish those boundaries and truly take days off to completely separate, spend time with my kids. As we spoke about earlier, I moved to a new property where I'm more secluded. I have more time off, and I'm in my office at my house. So I get to work a lot from home. The days that I'm not at the fire station for my other jobs. Luckily, working remote helps me, but learning to turn it off also is been a hard thing. You know, uh, you,
And then you mentioned that usually, or the usual call volume is something in between 15 and 20 for, I guess, a 24-hour shift, correct? So
yes,
that's almost a call an hour, even if it's, a minor priority call. Plus, you still have to do all the work at the station. You're a human being. You need to eat. You need to sleep. So I
yeah,
think this, so your cortisol level is constantly high. And then you go off shift and the cortisol is still in your body. So I think that is probably very
absolutely.
hard on top of, the mental aspects you just,
Yeah, we
touched.
work 24 on, 48 off with
Mm.
a Kelly day in between. That's basically one day, a 24-hour shift every 6 shifts. So we go to work in the morning, check out your truck. You get there early. You check out your truck. You do your station duties. There's usually business to tend to, either training or classes or inspections or whatever. And in between all that, yeah, you're running. I work for a small department in South Florida. My being on a busy truck for me is not as busy as some of my neighboring departments. On a busy day, I'm running 15 calls. Majority of them are transport calls. They're all EMS calls. A slow day, still 7 to 10 calls. Um, but it takes a toll on you, especially
Mm.
the ones that are at night. The ones during the day don't really affect us as much, because for those that don't know, living in a firehouse is just like living in, like a kind of a frat house, but you're doing work. Um, you have your own dorm in my department. We have your own dorm. You're able to rest. You do have some downtime in between calls, but the thing that truly gets us are the calls at night. The calls that come in, you fall asleep, you're in deep sleep, you're in REM, and then all of a sudden 1 o'clock comes up, and you have to wake up and go on that call. Coming back and falling back
Mm.
asleep is very hard. You have usually multiple calls at night, two or three after midnight. That's what truly destroys us as first responders. The next day that you get off work, you're exhausted, you're beat down, your circadian rhythm's off, your cortisol levels are through the roof, and a lot of us have to go to second jobs, especially in the South Florida market where everything's extremely expensive. And um, for me, I just enjoy work, so I have multiple jobs. But a lot of people go and do other things, and the next day you're exhausted. So usually my first day off, when I get home, my wife knows, I'm exhausted and I'm in bed
Mhm.
by 8:30, 9 o'clock after I put the kids down to bed. and I'm out. But yeah, the call volume, especially some of the bigger South Florida departments that run quite a bit. These guys get put through the ringer, and it takes a toll on you mentally. When sleep deprivation is something serious. When you
Yeah.
are lacking sleep, making decisions is harder. Is dangerous. It's dangerous. Oh, and then that over a career of 20 years, 25, 30 years. Absolutely. It could be
Yeah.
devastating. Yes.
Southwest Florida Frontline, live from the Sunshine State.
Do you want to share a little bit about your other jobs and especially your business or
Absolutely,
businesses?
absolutely. Let me give you a little background of kind of how I went from after the Air Force. Just so people know my little bit of my background.
Mm.
After the Air Force, during the Air Force, I deployed to Iraq in 2003. I was part of the first deployment to Operation Iraqi Freedom. I separated from the military. I did contract work for about 7 years in different countries: Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Spain, and then down in the lower Caribbean and Curacao. That's where I met my wife, and then I decided to come back home and become a firefighter at a local fire department, municipal. I became a paramedic, which was one of my dreams, and then I was hired by a local fire department down here in South Florida, a small municipality, which fit very, very good, and I've been there for the last 12, almost 13 years. During that time, um, I've always been interested in education. I've always loved learning. My father always instilled in me to read books. I've read hundreds and hundreds of books over my lifetime, and that's one of my things that kind of calms my mind down. I read things that interest me, and novels and things like that. But during my time as a young firefighter, I got into education and I started teaching EMT. I started teaching EMT at a small school. Uh, and then that led me to a bigger school where I progressed through my career teaching. Then I became an administrator, and then from that college, I went to another one, and I was there for about 9 years teaching paramedics and doing administrative work on the back end. I also teach for a local fire academy, where we'll talk about a little bit of kind of my venture there. But over that time teaching EMS, I started my own business with a business partner of mine, and it's called eCerts now. I'll send you the links and all the information so you can put on the
Mm-hmm.
on the notes. And we basically teach all kinds of things. We teach all the American Heart Association classes. So we teach Heart Saver, CPR, AED for the general public. We teach basic life support for medical providers. We teach advanced cardiac life support, pediatric life support. We do instructor classes. So if you want to become a CPR instructor and start your own CPR business, we can facilitate that. Our classes are usually for bigger groups. I don't do a lot of individual classes anymore. I teach for bigger clients, construction companies, schools, classes that are 10, 15, 20, even 50, 100 people. Our business has been thriving also in the way that for the fire service is we teach all the fire service courses. So if you are going to become an inspector, we teach all those classes. Majority of the classes are online. We're one of the few companies in the state of Florida that provides online training, all approved by the Bureau of Fire Standards and Training here in Florida. So they're online classes. Some are blended, and then some are mandatory in person, depending to the state. So we offer Fire Officer 1, Fire Officer 2, Inspector classes, and we're in the process of developing Fire Officer 3 and 4 as time goes by. It's a very tedious process
Wow.
to get these classes online and on the platforms and approval. And then we also do consulting on the side for, businesses, emergency preparedness, and all kinds of things. The business has been going very well. My wife helps me out here in the office. She helps me out in the background. My business partner also does a lot of things with the fire service classes. We offer all the NIMS classes, the FEMA NIMS classes as well. Our business is growing slowly but surely. But yeah, if you guys have any questions regarding any of those classes that we offer, feel free to contact me at the email below in the notes. And my other venture is, like I said, I teach for a local fire academy. So where I give back to the students that are becoming firefighters and will eventually be on our trucks. these these students will eventually get hired with local fire departments and will be part of the new generation that join our forces. Um, while I was teaching at this academy, I'm very tech savvy. I've always been. I was an avid skydiver for many years. I've have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of jumps, and I used to jump out of the plane with cameras and things on my helmet. And I've always been into video editing, and I've always liked technology. So um, I run media services now or I'm the media coordinator for the Fire Academy. So I run their Instagram. I have a huge production project where I'm doing a lot. I'm basically doing their YouTube, and I'm putting instructional videos on their YouTube.
Wow.
And this can, in my opinion, it was something that the academy was lacking because one, it's going to help the instructors with instruction of the task and the skills, and it's going to help the students to actually utilize the technology to see these skills. So basically, when you become a firefighter, you get a manual. It's called the BFST PO manual, your performance objective manual. And in that manual, you have everything from how to throw a ladder, how to tie a knot, how to extend a hose, all that stuff. So I pitched that to my boss, and I told him, listen, I have all the equipment. I have cameras, tripods, lighting. I have it all. I'm willing to put all these POs from writing to video format. It's a huge project that I've taken. It's going to take me about a year. It's about 100 and so videos. I think I've created like 38 of them right now, and they approved it, and it's been a blessing, to be honest with you, because I think it's an aid that one, the student can use it to review, and the instructor can use it to look at prior to going to teach. And the beauty about it is it's not just for our academy. That PO manual that we get, every single academy in the state of Florida gets the same one. So I did it benevolent in a way that it's on YouTube for free. And any academy in the state of Florida can go to our YouTube page and review those POs. Because technically, when a student finishes Fire Academy, when they get tested, they're getting tested by by that manual. So what's on that manual is what they're going to get tested. So if you review those videos, anybody in the state of Florida can go on to the Academy's YouTube and find all those videos. They're broken down by section, and I'm loving that job because I'm not teaching physically anymore in the classroom. I'm teaching digitally, and I'm looking forward to leave a legacy. I think it's a legacy project for me, something that's going to be permanent on the web. That anybody in the world. I mean, you can be in Japan right now and want to look at basic firefighting skills that are not really going to change. You know, how to tie a bowline knot is going to be done the same way for the rest of existence. You know, there might be 2 or 3 different ways, but the things that I'm teaching you are basic skills in firefighting are going to be done in that way for the rest of eternity. You know, how you're going to throw a ladder. There's no other way to throw a ladder. You know, there's 2 or 3 ways, but you know, I find this job that I've gotten recently very rewarding, and I think it's going to go far in the digital world, that you know people are going to have access to all these videos. And I hope those that use it take it with it, you know, take it and run with it, and hope it helps, you know.
Wow.
And then the social
Wow.
media part is another portion of it that I kind of pitched. My main goal is the video production, and then with that came the social media aspect, that we started their Instagram page, and nowadays everything is social media. Everybody's on Instagram, TikTok, and all these things. All we do is the Instagram because I think it's the biggest platform, and I've had a phenomenal, you know, outreach of that. I'm doing a great job. That people are liking it. So we have over 250,000 views a month. And I've gotten a good reaction from it. So I'm ecstatic. And that's what's really been keeping me busy on the sidelines from the fire department lately. And that has
But I can hear.
it has allowed me to create a lot of relationships with all the South Florida departments, because to be honest with you, like I mentioned, the students that we teach at the fire academy end up at the fire departments, and I follow all the fire departments now. I've created uh, relationships with them because you get our students, and I go to the fire departments now. I do videos on their success stories and kind of follow up, and it's a growing job that I think I'm gonna have security in, because I don't technology's here to stay. Social media is here to stay. YouTube is here to stay, and these are things that are being utilized more and more in the corporate world and in the fire service. Every fire department now has a social media page. It's kind of how we all communicate on how we're doing, positive and the negative, right? But I'm excited, man. And like I said, I thank you again for having me on this platform. I'll make sure that I share it on all my end, and
Thank you
go
too.
from there and grow.
But I can hear how passionate you are about that. But I was just wondering, the day only has 24 hours, and you just shared with us you work one day and then you are 2 days off. I mean, how do you manage
So,
to
uh,
handle all those responsibilities?
luckily, like I
Wow.
mentioned, at the fire department, we do have downtime.
Mm.
I get a lot of stuff done while I'm at the fire station, having my laptop computer and having internet and all that stuff there.
Okay.
Um, when you're there, if there's no actual business, so if you're not like at a class or doing
Mm.
something for the department, and you have downtime, I get things done. I maximize my time while I'm at the station, so I get to do as much as I can there. When I
And
get off
kudos to
duty,
your wife for supporting it.
and yeah, and when I get off this and I get out of the station, I go to the college, and now that I'm doing all the video stuff, I gather content, I do all my filming, I gather as much material as I can, and then luckily I'm blessed. Like I said, I have an office here with
Mm.
multiple screens. I built a brand new computer for editing, and I work from remote. My business operates. I do most of the back end on my business, administrative stuff, and I have staff that teaches for me. So, um, being very organized and having a lot of energy has
Mm.
helped me, and has been the key to my success. To be honest with you,
Mm.
my father and my mother have always taught me to be organized and to be methodical in that aspect.
Mm.
So I I I have a high capacity for work, for doing things. I'm very good with technology, and it's just me. I've that's just I am setting the boundaries. I am learning to
Mm.
get home and turn this off and put it on airplane mode and be present. I've had my instances where I am a sole provider. My wife's a stay-at-home mom. She helps me with the business on the back end. That's kind of her job, and she gets paid through the business. But we know, and my kids know that, hey, I need to take a 10-minute, 15-minute break for whatever, an email, a text, or things. That's what pays the bills at the end of the day. And I explain to them, but I try to be present. I do. I am blessed that I get to work a lot from home. I start my days very early. That's the key to my success. And like they say, early to bed, early to rise, makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise, right? Uh, I start my days early. Like my
Mm.
body wakes up at 4:30 in the morning, 5 in the morning. I can't stay in bed, so I get up and I get to work. I get to do things. I've been in my office today on a Sunday since 6 in the morning, and working on emails, catching up on things, watching my YouTube, doing things, and it's just the drive that I have. It's just I love what I do. Cat, I don't have a job. I enjoy waking up in the morning. I think I have fruitful work. I produce. I think that's where I get my dopamine hits from accomplishing things, and majority of the things that I'm accomplishing are helping people out. One of my biggest things that I tell my young firefighters, or just my students, guys, we're in a customer service job. If you don't think so, you're completely wrong. The fire service is all customer service. Teaching is customer service. My job in the fire service is to provide a great service to the public and the residents that we serve. And as an instructor is to provide customer service to the students that I teach. in the correct manner, not cut corners, and to give them true education, and to give them the outreach to myself, like, hey, I'm available if you have questions, if you feel, just making sure that the students and the client is always taken care of. And that takes a special individual to go above and beyond. When it's like, I tell all my clients for my business, if you have a question, you have my personal phone number. All the instructors that are out there teaching classes for themselves, or the clients that I have, I tell them, you're never bothering me. You're never bothering me. Call me, text me. I will make the time for you, because without you, my business doesn't thrive. Without you, I don't have a job. And I get a lot of satisfaction from seeing others succeed. That is, to me, is music in my ears. To me, is like joy when I get the calls from the students that say, hey, LT, I graduated. I passed my NREMT. I passed my fire school. I got hired at a local department. I taught my first class as an instructor, and I made X amount of money. To me, I think that's what life's about. You know, it's not about cheering for me. I like cheering for others. I like seeing other people succeed. I truly enjoy it. It's something that like warms my heart, and I don't know. It's something that's been ingrained in me, and I do.
And I think everyone who knows you and everyone who listened to this podcast can feel it, the passion and the honesty, when you say those things. It's not just empty words. That's just
Absolutely.
very authentic and who you
Absolutely.
are. Yeah.
And I go above and beyond, and I go out of my way to help people, and I think that karma comes back, and success is not material. In reality, success is not material. I'm religious. I'm a Christian. I think that giving back to others will, you're eventually going to be in heaven with God, and if you do the right thing, you'll end up there. It's a narrow road with a narrow gate. It's a long road with a narrow gate, and just try to do the right thing. At the end of the day, that's to be honest with you, is the key. Yeah.
Southwest Florida Frontline, live from the Sunshine State.
Carlos, do you have one final last advice to anyone who considers a career in the firefighting field?
Yes. It is an extremely rewarding career, but you must take care of yourself along the road. Never stop learning. Never get complacent. You never know it all. Till this day, 23 years into this, I don't know it all. I constantly review, policies, procedures, skills. I'm out there going over the equipment. There's always something new to learn. And from the most minute thing to, the biggest process and operation. But our field it's fast. It's a great career. Another thing, you must be physically fit. That's something that plays a part in your longevity and how this career will treat you. If you don't eat well, if you don't get enough sleep, and you don't exercise and maintain your weight and maintain your strength and cardiovascular endurance and all that, you have to take care of yourself. Remember, when you call 911, you don't want an out of shape fireman. You want a badass coming in, muscles, not just strength, but knowledgeable. You want somebody that's physically fit, can think on their toes, and that's adaptable to situations. So, my biggest advice is that take care of your mind, spirit, and body, and treat people and be ready, because this job over time will break you if you don't have a good support system, if you don't have that mental toughness. But it's a beautiful career at the end of the day. We do help out a lot, like I said, so, and that's it. Enjoy it. Take every single day, and that's the beauty about the fire service. Every day is different. You never know what's coming. That's why I kind of love the job. I said I'd never end up at a desk. I'm at a desk because now I'm an administrator and I'm editing and all that. But the fire service is so beautiful that you go to work and it could be a slow day, which is a beautiful thing. A day with no calls means nothing happened to anybody, nothing bad happened. But it could be a day where you can see some of the worst things in your life, and that's what kind of makes it interesting. Yet, it could be tough. But take care of yourselves, guys. That's it. And be there for each other.
Thank you so very much for this wonderful interview, Carlos, for being extremely brutally honest and upfront, but also making yourself vulnerable and offering so much support. And like you already said earlier, we will post everything down here in the show notes. So everyone who needs support or wants to learn more about, your businesses can do this and find it here. And then, enjoy the rest of your Sunday. And again, thank you so very much. I feel like this is very, very valuable for any current firefighter or future firefighter. So thank you.
Thank you, Kat. Thank you for having me on, and God bless you guys. If I'm readily available through email, I'll leave, like you said, I'll leave you all my notes, and I greatly appreciate it. Hope you have a good one.
Thank you.
Bye.
Your story matters. Reach out to us at SWFLfrontline@gmail.com. Follow us on Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Music under @SWFL Frontline.